Alright guys, it's time! Requiem, the third short story. It feels like so long ago we did the Ritlock one. It is finally out. The devs did a post just a couple of hours ago. Can't wait to look at this. So Caithe is the last one. Caithe in many ways I'm more interested in than the others. Just because she's got such a long storied adventure throughout this franchise so far. I mean, Ritlock, obviously we've had a lot to talk about. And in the story itself, they revealed a ton of stuff. But Caithe is still quite enigmatic, really. There's whole chapters of her life that I'd like to know more about. I'd like to know more about her time with Foul Lane. And maybe this is an opportunity for the devs to improve on some of the lackluster areas of Heart of Thorns. I'd like to know more about her stuff with Wynn and the Season 2 stories. I'd like to see a bit more about her episode in the personal story, where she's quite villainous and brutal and, like, murders those Nightmare Court quite relentlessly. There's a lot of fun things about Caithe. And then, obviously, with the most recent release, she's, like, branded Caithe now. So what does that mean? Her position at the end of this patch is so much more abstract and interesting than Ritlock's and Zephyra's. So, yeah, and they've saved this one for last. Who knows? Saved the best for last? I guess we'll see. This is the third video in a series I've done covering these short stories. I don't know what the content of the story is before we go in. We're going to enjoy it together. If you guys want, you can take a second to look on my channel for the Ritlock one and Zephyra one, which came out earlier before running into this. And I guess now that this last one is here, I'm pretty excited, guys. That could mean the patch is around the corner, right? Because we're done. So there we go. I think they filled the space in this quite lengthy gap between episodes quite well. We start with Caithe. I will note as well, I know many of you are thinking it, the fan art looks a bit off, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not trying to be rude about the person who made the fan art, but the style seems quite different to Zephyra and Ritlock. I guess that there's no cohesion that they enforced upon people. These were probably done, they're all done by separate members of the community, right? And these two just ended up doing something that feels quite artistically similar, and then Caithe's one is totally different. But hey, alright, so, and it's nice to have a bit of fan art for branded Caithe. He's very new to the series, right? So let's see what she says. It's strange. Here at the end, all I can think about is the beginning. You were so small once, a tiny jewel-bright bird beginning to test her wings. Every time you took flight, it stole my breath away. I should have spent more time in these moments, little one. Now I'll never see you fly again. And Kraukatoric, the one who took you from me, has slipped through our fingers again. The end has come. Without you, what hope does Tyria have? It's my duty now to bear witness to the end of all things, to stand beside your shell as I wait for reality itself to crumble away. It doesn't frighten me. How could it? My world ended when your heart stopped beating. The pale tree, the dream, Ventari's tablet, they taught us Sylvari are born fully grown. But before you, I was a child. I considered myself the most important creature in the world. I made so many mistakes. Here we go. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. This reminds me as well of, obviously in Season 2, she had quite a dramatic character shift in that she had previously been about, like, the wild hunt to defeat Zaitan, right? And it was all about Elder Dragon hunting. And then all of a sudden, she had this huge swing that she suddenly cared about this egg. And she, like, became really secretive, and we didn't even know if we could trust her for a while, and she just threw everything into this egg and then protecting Aurene once she was born. So I hope that the devs justify this a bit more, like her sincere caring for Aurene more than anything else. It was already very melodramatic there that she doesn't care about anything because Aurene's dead. But here we go. So I wonder if you still would have liked me back then, when I watched Caithe and begged the pale tree to change her ways. We were just beginning to see what the world was really like beyond the safety of our peaceful grove, and it shook us. Tyria was so big, full of contradictions. Ventari's tablet didn't explain why other civilizations, other people, have mothers and fathers. Why they follow the scripture of gods they can't see, why some follow no scripture at all. It didn't explain why the Asura found Malamedes and pulled his brilliant mind apart, changing him forever with their torture in the name of science. The firstborn clung to Ventari's tablet, using its peaceful teachings as a shield, but the secondborn were frustrated, restless, and Caithe, a child of the daylight, wanted action. He wanted vengeance. Wow, they're talking about Caithe! To those lore noobs out there watching this video, Caithe is an amazing character that when the developers were very first introducing us to the Nightmare Court, they gave us a blog post on their website with a short story dealing with the second-born Sylvari, who didn't like the whole tablet thing, and he tried to find counsel and discussion, but no one would really have any with him. There's an amazing scene in that short story, many years old now, where he's asking the Pale Tree, like, why won't she speak to him about these issues? And Caithe just says to him, you're not firstborn. The tree doesn't care about you. She only speaks to the firstborn. And this really upsets Cadian, and he goes off on a dark path. Caithe is really terrible in her naivety. In that story, she sets Cadian off, and here she's once again speaking about it. In 2019, she's speaking about it. And how she regrets it, that's amazing. Cadian's an interesting character to me, in that he was treated so well by the law, and then when the game came out, he was just a throwaway character in a dungeon, so that really had no further expansion. So the fact that this blog post now, this short story, is talking about him is amazing. This is the first time they've, like, well, not the first time, he appeared very briefly in Season 2 in an instance, but they're expanding on him. That's great. I really like the subject material they picked here. It's also interesting to me that she's a firstborn that's still changing so much, you know, growing so much and learning so much. She's just one of them. I wonder what the other firstborn are thinking and feeling as time goes forward too, if they're beginning to change and grow. Alright, so anyway, he wanted vengeance. Cadian stood before the Pale Tree and asked her to abandon Ventari's tablet. The world had shown us its ugly face, he said, and the tablet prevented us from defending ourselves. He wanted us to display our strength, show our thorns. I remember thinking he was a fool, an empty-headed secondborn who could never understand the importance of a peaceful life. I hoped the Pale Tree's avatar would appear and tear him down for his ridiculous ideas. Instead, he received only silence. Well, this is interesting. My recollection of the short story is that Caithe is very impassive, and she doesn't really care that much, or, you know, because she's just so hand-wavy about him and how he feels. But now we detect a bit of anger, I guess. Instead, he only wanted silence. He only received silence. It was one of those moments where fate diverged, where mere words could have changed the course of everything to come. If only I could have seen a glimpse of the future like you, I would have acted differently. I would have known that who I was then is not who I wish to be now. Cadian was wounded. Of course he was. He had spoken out, and the Pale Tree ignored him. I am the first of my generation, he insisted. I deserve to be heard. I could have been gentle with him, told him he mattered, that the Pale Tree heard and understood all her children. I could have been harsh and called him a traitor, warned him his wild streak would endanger us all. They were both what he needed to hear. But I was callous back then, and so shallow. Why should she care, I'd said. She has thousands of children now, Cadian. You're either firstborn, or you're simply Sylvari. Worst of all, I believed my words. I thought I and the other firstborn were superior, free from generational strife and political atrocities, perfect and pure. In time, the jungle dragon would prove us wrong. I wish I could go back and erase the smugness of my voice, soothe the sting of what I said to Cadian. But I said it, and it changed him. My cruelty hardened his heart and planted the seed of resentment, hatred. I know I wasn't the only one, but I helped set him down the road he would soon follow, to the creation of the Nightmare Court, to Foul-Lane. Yeah, I guess I didn't express this properly, but Cadian created the Nightmare Court, and then Foul-Lane kind of stood above. This is really cool that they're going back to that story. They are putting a different twist on it, though. I mean, I really didn't detect callousness, or that wasn't my takeaway of the story. I guess, you know, that's the beauty of those short stories, that you take away a different thing. But, yeah, I guess she was actually quite callous. What they're doing here is demonstrating that Caithe was actually quite cruel and not very nice. It's interesting that they've picked this to show that, when I think there's some other great examples as well, even in the personal story. And I love that they're looking back at Cadia, and I'd love to see if they'd gone back to those personal story moments as well there. But here, I guess we'll transition into Foul-Lane now, which is a whole chapter of her life where she was in love, right, and traveled the world, which we get glimpses of, like in Edge of Destiny, we get a couple of glimpses, but we've never had enough, really. So hopefully this story does it to Foul-Lane. From the moment we emerged together, Foul-Lane and I were like twin leaves sprouted from the same branch. She had endless questions, and all I ever wanted was to find the answers for her. We ventured into the vast unknown together, saw beautiful and terrible things. We made the world our own. I thought I had been created just for her, that she was born to discover, to change and shape everything she touched, and I was born to love her. Maybe I really did love Fowlane, in my own way. But I was so selfish then. I think I only loved the way everyone looked at me when I was with her. She knew this, and she used it. Oh, this is interesting. This suggestion that she was just manipulated, I've never detected before. I thought that it really was a pure and real love between those two. This idea as well, that one was looking for questions, one was looking for answers. This rings a subtle bell to me. I think somewhere in the vast canon that is Guild Wars, there is this suggestion that one was always curious and one was always looking for answers. I'm sure I've read that before or something like that, and I think the devs are deliberately directly nodding back to that. But okay, so Fowlane never loved her back, I guess is the idea? That she was always just a manipulator? Let's see, when I was young, I thought I knew everything there was to know. I was a firstborn Sylvari. The tablet told us we were the purest creatures in the world, and I believed it because I wanted so desperately to be unique, to be special. We were just beginning to see our own insignificance in the world, and while it drove Fowlane and made her hungrier, it caused me to turn inward, become even more arrogant. It masked my fear of not being important, of becoming nothing. It was the tiniest seed of a weakness, the desire, no, the need to be exceptional. But Fowlane found it. She had a knack for finding weaknesses, and for exploiting them. In the beginning she was sweet, even romantic. She took me to moonlit clearings where fireflies danced around our feet. She wove summer flowers through my hair and held my face in her hands and told me I was the most beautiful, important person she would ever know. That I would make a difference, that she was proud of me. I loved the way she looked at me, like I was the only creature in the world. I felt she understood me, as no one else could. There was such admiration in her eyes, it became hard to look away. I needed her to be my mirror, because I couldn't see what she saw. I needed her love to feel whole, which was precisely what she wanted. You know, I've detected a thing. With all three of these short stories, they've really been very melodramatic about just how broken our characters are. I never thought of Caithe as a character utterly broken and desperate for recognition and significance in the world. Ever. I guess they're trying the best they can to humanize them and make us empathize with the characters. I'm not sure how much is hitting. Which was precisely what she wanted. Depending on Fowlane felt so natural. Just like loving her. I was so young, so untested. I thought they were the same thing. I knew as long as I had Fowlane, I could do anything. I was ensnared. I was her prey. That was when things changed. It's easy to look back now and say I should have seen what Fowlane really was, what she was doing when she would ignore me for days at a time, seemingly out of the blue, when she would come back as if nothing had happened and chastise me for getting upset. But it's so difficult to recognize when you're under the murky water. She made it difficult. She would starve me of the attention she had once lavished on me. She withheld it from me when she saw I was hungriest for it, and when I would finally get angry, she wilted, acted as though I had wounded her. She made it my fault. Mine. Never hers. Not even ours together. Fowlane began hinting that I was becoming dull. She said that without her I would be indistinguishable from other Sylvari. Sometimes she wondered out loud if she would grow bored with me. She knew exactly what to say, and I was so deep under the water, I believed her. I would do whatever it took to regain her attention. I did favors for her, made myself perfect for her, picked fights with her. In my eyes, even her anger was better than her indifference. But none of it worked. The only time she gave me her full attention was to scrutinize me. I have to admit, guys, I don't really like this very much. I much preferred the story as it had initially struck me, that they genuinely did love each other, but their adventures around the world had caused them to have different worldviews, and Caithe could not abide or reconcile how Fowlane had come to feel about the world, so Fowlane and her had parted based on philosophical differences about the world that were quite fundamental eventually to their characters, that as they explored, they grew apart. And it wasn't that it wasn't real or pure or nice, but simply that the world had changed them in different ways. They'd had the same input and come out differently from their adventures and their experiences. I thought that felt very real and very human and very much what a lot of us go through. Now they've kind of gone with just very much, I don't know, they've made Caithe seem very weak here. Very, very, very weak. And made Fowlane much more sort of villainous through and through. And I'm not sure I like that as much, but I get what they're going with. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that this slant on it doesn't sit 100%. The only time she gave me her full attention was to scrutinize me. Fowlane picked me apart. The things she used to say she loved about me, my directness, my preference for listening over speaking, the way I brought her back when she pushed boundaries, now she criticized, even despised them. She said I was holding her back, that she could be so much more without me, but she stayed with me out of pity. And just when I decided I was more miserable with her than I could ever be on my own, she would turn back into the loving, attentive partner I remembered from long ago. She would take me back to the clearing and weave flowers into my hair, tell me I was special, if only I could stop dragging myself down. I wish I could say I escaped her in the end, little one, but she escaped me. In the Nightmare Court, she found a community of Sylvari desperate for change, for something they could believe in, and she used them too. My freedom lay in staying behind when she left. I used the Pale Tree and Ventari's tablet to give me the strength I didn't think I'd had, and they helped me move past her. The Pale Tree helped me to live well and fully, to never leave a wrong to ripen into evil. Those teachings gave me the peace I needed. They gave me a purpose where I had none. But that was all a lie too. See, this is interesting. In the personal story, we see she's pretty goddamn ruthless against the Nightmare Court, and I'd always felt that that was born out of her resentment for that faction having arisen and Fowlane, essentially have fallen to them, and, Caithe may feel that they're responsible for their parting. I feel like the past, 3 pages or so could have instead been focusing specifically on how they broke up, and how they got to where they are right at the start of the Edge of Destiny, where we see things are quite tense between them. I would have liked that to have been nailed down, but instead they keep it more about, general relationship troubles that I think most people can recognize. Alright, but that was all a lie too. Okay, it was a lie, the teachings of the Ventari tablet. When Wynne revealed the truth of the Sylvari to me, that we were created only to serve Morgemoth, I felt hollowed out all over again. The Pale Tree's words healed me and brought me out of the darkness, but they had been empty. A convenient lie she spun to give us meaning where there was none. We were not pure. We were simply tools to be directed at a target. I was meant to be used. Again. I was so angry at the Pale Tree, at my mother. But now, I understand why she hid the truth from us. A mother does whatever she can to protect her children, even if it means lying. I wish I could take away the terrible knowledge you had to live with, little one. I wish I could undo your fate and make it my own. Everything I've been through, I would suffer it again just to spare you. That's what love is. I see what they're doing. They're basically now saying, look, the Fowlane relationship was not real love, but the parental love she's felt for Irene, that's the first time she's felt real love. That's why they've gone so hard on the Fowlane stuff was fake, so that they can move forward to focus much more on the Irene connection instead. I love their connection here of finally understanding the Pale Tree. That they didn't talk at all about her murdering Wynne either, by the way. Look at how they gloss over that side of the story too. That's what love is. Do you remember when we first met? You were still inside your egg, growing into the beautiful creature you would soon become. Morgemoth spoke to me the same way the dream did. Not with thoughts, but with feelings, desires, impulses. I felt my second wild hunt tickle the back of my mind to protect Glint's egg, protect you. The feeling came so easily, wanting to keep you safe. I hadn't even seen your face, but I knew you were so special. Protecting you wasn't an order, it was an instinct. But then the thoughts turned. Take the egg to the heart of Maguma, my impulse told me. I didn't know what I would find there, but the very fibers of my heart were pulling me forward. Sylvari are not meant to question their wild hunts. We are made to fulfill them. But I remembered what Wynne told me when she revealed the truth. To trust no one. Not even the commander. Did she tell her that? I can't remember that. Wow, okay. Trust no one. I didn't remember that line. I tried to make sense of the notion blossoming in my mind, that one felt so much like it was my own. But I knew that Morgemoth's whispers were indistinguishable from my wild hunt. Was I to just ignore my own desires? Did my instinct even belong to me anymore? Or was I being used yet again? I was more alone than I'd ever been. The Pale Tree, the commander, Wynne. I trusted no one, not even myself. It was just you and me and that horrible, endless jungle. And so I focused on you. I devoted every part of myself to keeping you from harm. I understood your importance in the world, even if I wasn't certain of the future. But it was more than that. You were all I had. I couldn't lose you too. Losing you would mean losing myself. I think that was when I understood. I would never be significant, and that was okay. No Sylvari, not Caithe, not Fowlane or Wynn, not even the Pale Tree mattered all that much. We weren't pure, perfect beings, and we weren't the most important creatures in the world. You were. And I would protect you with everything I had. This is really interesting. You know what? She might be right about this as well, you know, that they're just cogs among other cogs in the eternal alchemy. But I do think this, you know, not even the Pale Tree matters that much. It reminds me very starkly of when we saw that vision of Omad's machine in the eternal alchemy. And at the center of all the orbs was Tyria represented that actually transitioned through the Pale Tree. And, you know, there were these suggestions that the Pale Tree had a very big role to play. But okay, so it's all about Aurene now. The Pale Tree protected me. Protected all Sylvari. The only way she knew how. She hid the terrible truths of the world from us and tried to make us feel safe and supported. It made me believe I was chosen. Special, but it was never about that. It was about passing this feeling on to another, and I passed it on to you, my jewel bright bird. Protecting you didn't mean hiding the ugliness of the world from you. I wanted you to be as strong in a way I never was, to meet your fate head on with courage and confidence. I needed you to be ready. So I stayed with you and taught you everything I'd learned, all my mistakes, my pain. It would help you grow. It was the most important thing I've ever done, and ever will do. You would save the world, the Sylvari, the dream, all of it. But you were never just that to me. You weren't simply the dragon that would defeat Kralkatorrik. You were mine, and I was yours. You taught me how to love fully without holding back. No matter how guarded I was around the others, you saw what no one else did. The warmth at my core. I finally had a purpose. She's lost all edge to her. All edge. I like this phrase here, my jewel bright bird. That's quite pretty. We've never heard that in game, have we? Or have we? I empathize now with the Pale Tree. She was a mother forced to send her children into the cold, unforgiving world, knowing the harm, even death, that would befall them. But that mother must let her children fly, even fall, so that they may learn. And you'd fallen before, only to get back up stronger and more certain. And I was always there to help you. I thought you were ready. I thought we would win together. And now I've lost you. You were a part of me, and I of you. How does a heart beat when half of it is gone? I wish I had done more to show you how much I loved you. How much you'd meant to me, to all of us. I haven't heard from the commander in days. I wonder if our leader's heart has crumbled into dust too. Now we have no plan, no ideas, nothing left to do but mourn our lost hope, our lost child, and the terrible, beautiful world she tried to protect. I hope I see you soon, little one, when the end comes. We need to be with you for this, all of us. You brought so many people together, touched so many souls. We should face what comes together one last time. I can't do this alone. I need someone else to help me meet the end of all things, and the failure of all our plans and dreams. Someone who loves you like I do. It's time. I call the commander. And it ends. Wow. So is it just me, or did that feel shorter than the other ones? Maybe they just didn't get through much subject material. They didn't talk at all about her branding. I mean, what on earth? I really thought that would be an interesting thing. They didn't talk at all about jealousy or guardedness between, you know, what is Caithe to Aurene versus what is the commander to Aurene. There's like a beautiful tension there that they should have explored. We didn't hear anything about sort of her feelings of the Exalted being caretakers. They totally glossed over her impulse to take the egg to Tyria, and, you know, whether she was just being used by the Exalted there and she's still just a pawn. They robbed her of all of her edge. I'm not sure about this story. It's like, guys, they wanted to do 3 stories, but they didn't have anything interesting to say or to talk about with Caithe, so they just threw a bunch of sappy parental stuff there and gave us, you know, an insight into her tortured soul. We didn't, I don't know, get very much on that, I feel like. So a bit like the Ritlock one, I've got a couple of misgivings about this short story, I think. But it is still, once again, nice to have an actual body of work and a weight of things to look at and to think about when we play the next patch. I'm not sure how much this story is going to impact me when I get into the next release and I'm hanging around with Caithe. The Zavira story really, I think, was very cool. And there we go. Then we get the little bit of art here that we've already got a glimpse of up at the top here, produced by the community. This was from Kinexzuki, I think is how we would say that name. And there you go. That's the final short story, the final Requiem short story. I wonder, guys, if they'll continue with this for later releases. And that's a big thing to wonder about, because I think it's a great concept. And I think largely the community has received these very well and enjoyed these very well. But it is the finale now. So what, do you think we'll have a break before Season 5 begins? And will they fill that with more short stories? And then when we get to Season 5, there was essentially an admission from the devs that the Season 5 format will be different to what we've currently experienced. They're not going to force new maps on. It might be they might be lighter on the ground or whatever. So maybe they won't continue with this. I guess we'll see. Let me know what you think about not just this story, but the entire concept in general. Many thanks to Arena. I think this is awesome that they did this, and it's been great to have some extra videos to talk about and have fun with you guys, geek out about the lore. And I'll put a link in the description, guys, to the Caithe story. If you've watched my Let's Play, you've already heard me read that out in the best way I can with lovely backgrounds and stuff. And, you know, showing off Caithe in the dungeons and whatnot. But if you just want the story on its own, someone remind me, I'll put it in the description. And with that, guys, I hope you enjoy. I am currently in the middle of playing the Explorable Dungeons. I did a video on the World Boss Week right now as well, if you want to check that out. And until next time, I'll have more videos very soon. Take it easy, guys. I'll see you shortly.